What's up, everyone? My name is Andy Coronado, and tonight in the show, I'm joined by my partner in crimes, Elias Gregoriadis, and the GOAT, Hadi Rafael. How we doing, boys?
Oh, we're
Doing
doing great.
fine.
Never a dull moment in Montreal. So hey, we've got a fantastic show
We're gonna
and
kill it
lots of drama.
tonight.
I love it.
And you know what? Let's make it even a little more special. What do you guys say? We have a
Let's
li-
do it.
Hell yeah.
we have a special guest. He is the man of the hour. Um, and we're lucky to have him because, from what I understand, it's his first interview since the big game on Saturday. Elias, play the clip. The man of the hour, Rocco Placentino, FC Supra president. Guys, clap it up for the 1-0. 1-0, baby. How are we doing, Rocco? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Still like under this crazy game that we went through, and yeah, I'm recovering. Let's say it's like I'm hungover.
Whose
Hungover
idea
happens.
was it to do that clip to do the in the locker room? Was it your idea? Were you talked into it? How did that happen?
So funny story. My wife washed my white T-shirt the Thursday night before leaving. She forgot to pack it. Not that white T-shirt, like a plain white T-shirt. That white one with the Supra one is my pajama top. Um, and I had a crazy idea on Saturday where I said, you know what? If the stars align, I'm gonna rip it open. And we're here today, and I think I'm gonna keep on wearing that T-shirt.
Oh, look, Rocco,
You're
thank
not
you so
allowed to take
much.
it off now.
You haven't changed, huh? No, it's okay. Yeah,
Well,
we
it's not my
believe.
pajama top anymore. Let's say it that way.
Well, look, we want to, Rocco, thank you so much. And thank you so much for FC Super for making this happen. It was a special weekend, and we wanted to, there's clips going all over the internet right now about, the celebrations throughout the game. But, the dust has settled, right? The dust has settled. And so we're here that we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the first game, how it went, what's going to be next, what happened throughout the game, Rocco, because we all saw it from TV, but you were living it. But before we get into that, I do want to ask you, before the game, leading up to the historic first kickoff, Rocco, you were everywhere, doing press conferences, in all over the media. What were your emotions like? What were you feeling leading up to the game? The days, maybe the weeks before. We saw each other at practice, Rocco. But what were you feeling?
To be honest, it was hard to measure what was the unknown. Right? I didn't know what to expect, and we've been working the whole staff, not only myself, but my troopers, my colleagues, my new family. We were working so hard. I didn't even have I swear to God, I didn't have the chance to even understand like what's going to happen on the 11th of April, right? And just like I didn't know how the reaction was going to be at our launch on September 24th, just like I didn't know how our launch was going to be when we revealed the team on April 2nd. Preseason is preseason. You can't really measure because you're not playing against your real opponents. But I could tell you that when I woke up on the 11th in the morning, I felt like I was a soccer player. I was locked in. I was like focused, and I started getting the good jitters in my tummy like a little kid. And you know what though? It's not about how I felt. It's and what I had to see. It's just our team is honestly, guys, and it's hard to explain it, but like the feeling that I get from our team, players and staff is hard to explain because they're from Quebec, and it's hard to explain because it's not the same feeling when you're playing in a club where there's players from all over the world, and at the end of the day they go back to their own bubble. They're from here, and I think that if you notice every single goal that we scored, it's like we won the World Cup. Um, I almost fainted in the third goal, but it's very hard to explain leading up to the game the unknown, And for me personally, and I'm sure the teammates, well, the players and the staff and everybody else, we turned the page on Sunday the 12th, and now we're thinking about the 19th, and that's the next mission.
When I
Oh,
spoke to Nick throughout the week, I told him, "Does it feel real yet? What has reality hit that you're about to play your first official game?" He told me it won't feel real till we land in Vancouver. When was it that for you, Rocco, it started feeling real that you were about to witness the first game of the team you had put together?
The day of the game, um, I received several messages from friends and family, and a lot of them give me chills and tears of joy because of what was created. And when I saw those guys get off the bus to walk into the locker room, I was like, "Holy shit, man, this is real!" And these guys, they were so like I was locked in, but they were like over locked in, and they were ready for battle. And then the game just started, and it was like I have my aura ring here, and my blood pressure the whole game was ridiculous. And, I don't know if I could last 27 more games of this stuff.
now I don't know what everyone's experience was like for with that winning goal, but I was watching it in the kitchen room in the kitchen with my brother. I'm sure that everyone's gonna have their own story about how they lived that game. For you, or in the stands, when you saw literally at the death 3-2, what's going through your mind?
Um, a lot of joy. Uh, it's hard to talk about, guys. A lot of emotions, and when it's a little young 19-year-old kid from Trois-Rivières, that's what our project's about. And we couldn't have written that script. It's impossible. And just a lot of crazy emotions, man. And I'm telling you, I almost fainted for real because it was too much. It was a lot to handle in a good way. And you know what? It's not even about how we played, and if Loic's goal was ridiculous, but then just to win it that way, and to witness how the team celebrated. Besides Nick Rizaghi, because Nick is a person in its own, but but to see how the players reacted to Mako's goal was very, very, very emotional, and in a good way, of course. And I'm starting to slowly understand what this my own project's about.
Now, you told us that you hadn't really got the chance to watch back, and kind of, process the game from a distance. But what did you see on the field that you liked, as an actual now objective football talk now? What did you see out there that you were like, okay, this is really good stuff. This is what I love to see. What was some stuff that you think still needs work from the group?
Those are questions for Nick Rizaghi, but I'll give my opinion. Offensively, we're very dangerous. Honestly, like it was like every time one of our wingers or forwards got the ball, I was on my feet. And Alessandro and Sissoko in the middle, oh my god, like they held their ground in the middle. And then I think Sean came out more in the second half, but like offensively, I was very satisfied. I know that my coaching staff will say it's got to be better, which it does. But I think for a first game, I was very happy. Defensively, with the ball, I think that we were very good. A couple of moments where we panicked, which is normal too. Those are the jitters and the nerves that we have inside. But I think whatever, we all see it. We got scored on the same way, right? The ball's coming in from crosses, and that's where we have to get better at. But I'm not worried at all because I know that my coaching staff, and I know that Nick Rizaghi, Rampton, Anthony, Sima, everybody are already cutting up clips, and it's already memorized in their brain on how to make it better for our next game. But definitely balls coming in from the sides were an issue for us.
Yeah. Thanks, Rocco, for being here. I think it's the first time that we talk with each other. So nice to meet you, and so happy to have seen that game. I think it was historic, and it's something that I started podcasting maybe 8 years ago, and it's something that I've always wanted to have a team from Quebec, and just wanted to let you know it's a dream come true, even for me as a person. But I think a lot of other people in Quebec, it's a dream come true. So thank you for that. I just wanted to talk to you about that game, but also the opponent. You were not playing against a small team in the CPL. Pacific FC is still a very good team, an established team in the CPL. Being able to go there and win, on the sporting side, is that something that you were expecting? Is that something that came as a surprise, or it's just the emotions of the first game that just are talking right now?
You said it well. I think that Pacific FC, you could tell that they're in the league at 7 years, right? And I felt it. I felt it walking into the stadium. First of all, the Pacific FC staff were very, very nice to us, very welcoming. I'm sure they weren't happy at the end of the game, but pre-game they were very welcoming. But yeah, you had players like Daniels, like Bustos, like Bird on the wing, like these guys are good, man.
Yeah.
I think their backline struggles, to be honest. Like I feel that I expect a bit more on their backline to be a bit better, but they're an established team in the CPL. But you guys are going to get to know Nick Rizaghi and Rampton and the coaching staff very well. And guys, it's Quebec soccer players. Like, we never back down. There's no boring doesn't exist in our lives. Not taking risks doesn't exist in our life. That's who we are. We're gonna try. And you know what? At the 2-2, I was looking at Mateo and I was saying, you know what? A point for a first ever game is great. And coming from a guy that loves taking those risks, and I guess, you're on the road and you want to, go, like, you don't want to, it would have been a bit of a sour taste in our mouth losing 3-2, right? Which could have happened because they had their chances as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, Nick, with his genius call at the 90th plus minute, calling for a red card, even we knew it wasn't a red card, got a double yellow. We got to breathe for 2-3 minutes. And then, we won the game. So for me, if I have to use one word of this team, I'll say it in English and in French, but like in Italian. But La Grinta for me was that was testimony of what La Grinta means: never giving up, relentless, working for your teammate, hardworking. Like you won that game because of that, And David Chouanière making an overlapping run in the 97th minute, where I thought he was going to probably get subbed off in the 60th because he ran like crazy. Put the ball in the middle, and then Alex, right place, the right time, and that's a striker. That's what they do. They score goals, and that day there, the stars align. But it's not always like that, guys.
No, for sure. So, when are you having the discussion with David to bring his brother to the club? No,
let's bring that up right now.
Budget. It's not possible right now.
No, of course, I'm joking. Now let's talk about that home opener coming on Sunday. I think everybody's really excited after that win. That was, again, historic. I think that's another historic moment. You're going to play maybe 10 minutes from my home. So I'll be there for sure. 100%. What's the plan? What can we expect from that game? Not only, on the pitch, but also, around the pitch. Like, what can we expect?
Magical. Me knowing Quebec people and Quebec soccer fans, Quebec soccer amateur fans, singing, dancing, laughing, joy, crying. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Hopefully the weather holds up. But even if it's rain, I still think people are going to show up. Ottawa, defending champs, 0-2. So they're not coming for a walk in the park. They want to kill us for sure. But it's, it's going to be a very, I think, despite the soccer part, like you said, just for me, seeing who I know are going to be at this game on Sunday, crazy, soccer community. I want to live a bit like what I lived that game, Toronto FC against Saint Laurent in 2024.
Yeah.
That's what I want to witness. I want to witness something real, something that's not set up, that's organic, that's truthful, that represents who soccer in Quebec is. And I'm pretty sure Sunday that's going to help our team, play better and play for the people of Quebec.
Last but not least, just one last question for you. What will be the message to the players? How important is that for the team for the season? But not only like on the pitch, because you need to make sure in a way to that the people that are there are going to have fun so that they come back next time, right? Because the home opener is easy. It's easy to have your crowd, but you need that win to get them to come back. So what would be your message?
So my message for the players, and they know it, is that I really feel that technically our players are very good. I think they're very sound, and I think they're very capable. So there's going to be good soccer for sure on our end, and also from Ottawa's end because they're a technical team. You say win, yeah, necessarily. Of course, we all want to win to attract the second game at Sepsim, which is 6 days later on Friday night on the 24th. But I think that I always said it, and I believe in this. You could lose a soccer game, but as long as you lose with dignity, that you tried your best, people will appreciate that. It's when you lose a soccer game where you're not working hard, you're cheating, you're not running, you're not taking that extra step or that extra sprint, which for us, I've been very clear from day one, it's non-negotiable. So I think the team is going to show character, playing in front of their friends, in front of their family, in front of their girlfriends, their babies, their kids, the little kid that comes from AS Laval, Saint Laurent, Lakeshore, LaSalle, Lachine, that maybe one day is looking to be a super player. They have a huge responsibility on their back, but it's a cool responsibility. It's a cool one. So yeah, that's where I think the team is mindset's going to be.
I do want to ask you a question. I mean, it might be a little bit touchy because it's of given the situation right now. But as you know, right now, as we mentioned, FC Super is kind of riding a really, really nice wave because of the win and all that. While the other team in the city might not be, they're kind of going through their own struggles. How does FC Supra kind of capitalize on that momentum without overstepping any boundaries and respecting, obviously, everybody?
First of all, I'm a diehard CF Montreal fan, Impact fan. I want them to be successful. We want them to be successful. Guys, it's an MLS team. MLS, an established league with established players. Montreal has a huge history. CONCACAF Champions League, Drogba, Piatti, name it. So
Placentino.
That was back in the day. But I really feel that, it's tough for them today, but I really want them to bounce back to what they used to be. It's a tough moment in the CF Montreal's life for sure, but I wish them all the best. And, I want them to turn it around. I really do. Yes, we're people see us as being competitors. FC Supra is going to think about FC Supra. We're going to do our thing. We're a brand new club. We want to win, of course. That's pro sports. You want to win, and right now, if I have to say anything about the other team, well, the other team is CF Montreal, and we want them to be successful, man. Come on, guys. It's an MLS franchise. We can't take that for granted, guys. It's because one day, if it's not here, we're the only ones in town, which is fantastic. But CF Montreal, guys, over 30 years of existence, you don't want that to go away. You don't want it to be the next Expos, guys.
100%. And I think you've said it in several interviews that, if it's not for Joey Saputo and the Montreal Impact, FC Super.
We're not here. I'm not here today. Guys, honestly, it's right now it's a tough moment, and I hope that their leadership group could understand what's going on, which I'm sure they do. And guys, it's a historic club for our city. We can never forget that, guys. We can't forget that. It's super important. And, for all the people that, are not happy, it's right that they're not happy because we're used to the Impact of Montreal winning games, and it's hopefully they turn it around. And again, it doesn't have to be something that's turned around in a day, guys. It's not going to take a day, and it's not going to take, I think what they don't need is putting a Band-Aid on something. Right. And I think that they got to understand that they got to come back to their ways, and I'm sure they will, and I hope they do. For my own sake, as a CF Montreal fan, and I say it openly, I have no issues with that at all. I really want them to be successful.
100%.
Rocco, before we let you go, I don't know what the atmosphere was like at Starlight Stadium. Did you hear the communication on the field? Were you able to hear that?
Le français, on a parlé français tout le match.
Because that was something that got me really in my feelings, because for the first time in my entire life, I heard TMR, I heard Laval, I heard Saint Lo, I heard Montreal French spoken on a professional soccer pitch. Can you talk a bit about, maybe that aspect of, because when I spoke with David, we had an interview with David a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how French and the common cultural basis that the team is kind of founded on. Can you talk a bit about, hearing Montreal French on a professional soccer pitch and what that means to you?
It means a lot. Like, honestly, two things. Number one, it's a good tactic to speak French because 99%
Nobody understands.
have no idea what we're talking about. And it's Quebecois French, so it's even worse. And to understand, because we have our own dialect, let's say. But secondly, that's who we are, guys. It's guys from Quebec. And, you could hear it in Loic Kwame's interview. You could hear in Alex Marco's interview. You could tell that they're Quebecois. And for me, it's exactly what we are. And that won't change, guys. Like, you won't have a guy from Ontario coming and play for Supra and talking English 100%. That's not who we are. You're not going to see, when Charles got kicked in the shin and he kicked the guy back, that's who we are. That's Quebec soccer, guys. Where you have a bit of an edge, and I know that with time we're going to be hated in the league, and I'm used to that, and I love that shit. So.
Clip that. Listen, I just want to finish off with one thing, Rocco. I know the boss is calling. We've all been there, so I don't want to take a. But I just want to finish off because we saw the whole game, right? And at the beginning, Rocco's in the field in the coin toss. He's calm, I guess. Calm from TV.
No,
I don't know.
Very nervous. I was shitting my pants. I was nervous.
And then at the end, you told us before the show you couldn't feel your legs. So walk us a little bit through, and I'll let you talk your stuff, right? Walk us a little bit through that. So Rocco as a personal, how everything, you're just a person, and there's a huge project in front of you. Go ahead.
And I appreciate the CPL calling me out on the field to do the coin toss. It was very nice of them, but that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to focus on the game and give my pregame speech, and yeah, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie, and my wife saw it right away. She goes, "Oh my God, you were very nervous," and I was for many reasons, because are we gonna lose 5-0? Are we gonna get a red card? Are we gonna win 3-0? I had so many different, like I said, the unknown, right? And it got to me. It really got to me. And when Loic scored that first goal, it was a sense of relief, and also saying, okay, now we're here, and then they scored on us right away in the second half. So it's like, oh my God, now I'm back at being nervous again. And then we score a second goal, and the second goal I didn't celebrate. I was very calm, because I said this game is going to be a crazy game, which ended up being a crazy game. If Riyad scores the third goal, we probably win 5-1. He doesn't score the third goal. They hit the post. They miss an open net. We could have lost 4-2. And that's why this is the ball is round. You said
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's so my emotions from first minute to the last minute were all over the place. But I was definitely nervous. I was nervous the whole game, and that's me being out of character, guys. I don't get nervous. I get excited. I get emotional, but I was very nervous. And hopefully I broke the ice, and it could be better Sunday. I don't know, man. Whatever.
Anybody who's watching this, make sure you go to Rocco if you see him Sunday and tell him, "Are you nervous?" Because it's gonna go great.
You'll notice.
Rocco, thank you so much for joining us tonight at The Ball Is Round. This was a fantastic interview. On behalf of everyone here at The Ball Is Round, we wish you nothing but success this season, you and FC Supra. And we truly appreciate you stopping by. And Rocco, don't worry about it. You don't have to do this every Monday, only today, okay?
If we win again, though, I might be calling you.
All right. Come back. Thank you, Rocco. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Well, what are we gonna say?
I think the show we can just
all right, we're good. All right,
we don't need to talk about anything else.
For joining us for The Ball's Round.
Like,
See you next week for episode 259 of The Ball's Round.
Elias,
honestly, there's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to say.
Guys, no, let's just be honest. Let's be honest. Let's talk amongst ourselves. We just had Rocco Placentino after his first game,
Yep.
and it felt raw. He's speaking like one of us. This is what we mean when this club, certain club, d'ici pour ici, from here for here. Hattie, I could feel you too. Like you speaking, you're like he's one of us. He's not a
Yeah.
he's not a figure from he is one of us. He speaks for us. He feels what we feel. We see it on TV, but he tells us. That's why this interview to me was important. And again, big thank you from the part of the ball is round to FC Supra and Felipe for making this happen. But it was important because we want to hear it, right? We want to hear. We felt a certain way. Hadi, I'm sure you felt a certain way. Elias, you felt a certain way watching the game. What do you guys think? Just give me your overall thoughts of the interview.
Oh,
Honestly,
I mean, Rocco wears his heart on his sleeve, right? What the Rocco you get is the Rocco you see, and he's a super nice guy. We've had the chance to speak with him at training and at, Supra functions, and he's incredibly honest and incredibly passionate about soccer in Montreal. And yeah, it's someone that you either absolutely despise, like he talked about, the teams that he plays against. But from a Montreal standpoint, you can't help but cheer for him a little bit. The passion's contagious at the end of the day. And I think, when it's passion projected towards something that you really identify with, you can't help but, smile and maybe the journalistic side goes a little bit to the background for half a second, and then, never cheering in the press box, but, maybe you crack a smile. Maybe.
Wait, Elias, are you gonna cheer?
No. There's one cardinal rule. There's no cheering in the press box. No matter what happens, doesn't matter who scores. Doesn't matter if Canada scores the golden goal to go to the World Cup final. In the golden goal doesn't exist anymore. There's no cheering in the press box. That didn't happen.
How do you is he gonna celebrate? He's talking so much shit.
Honestly, I'm not in the press box anymore, so I can cheer the hell out of
How do you gonna be the one that doesn't feel his legs?
It's freedom. That's what that sounds like. It sounds like freedom.
You had to see me Saturday. You had to see me Saturday.
What'd you think of the interview? How to give me a
honestly, it was very refreshing, and all these emotions that he talked about. I think every Quebecer that has played, coached, or been on the pitch in Quebec, in the youth system or whatever, felt those emotions. I was coaching for 3-4 years. I know, Elias, you were there too. You talked at the end about, you heard the accent of TMR, you heard the accent. That's, those are the stuff that you because, every time you go, with your team, whoever it is, AA or A or AAA back in the days, and you go and you play against another team, I'm going to Dollar this time, I'm going to play against Lakeshore. And this is how it felt. And it's the achievement of all those years that, is the FC Supra. And, honestly, I'm not even in the project. I have so many emotions regarding that. I remember 2019, when the CPL started, I had a podcast. It was called the Premier Podcast. Myself and a guy called Michael Miller. I don't know if people still remember him. We had a podcast, a weekly podcast on the Premier League. And since the first episode, we were like, where is our team from Quebec? And that was in 2019. I think the podcast lasted for 2 or 3 seasons. And I think every week we were talking about a potential team in Quebec. Yeah. And at last it's here. So the interview is perfect. I feel that Rocco is someone that's very genuine. And he showed us exactly what we have felt for so many years. And very refreshing. Very refreshing.
Happy to hear you here. But you know what?
Let's talk about
at the end of the day, guys, we're a podcast that we got to talk about the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So I just saw twitches happen in the screen. So before we dive into the fun stuff, though, quick little message for y'all. If you like The Ball Is Round, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Elias, we got so much shit going on in this show. It's fantastic. It really helps the show grow and keeps us bringing you more content every single week. And don't forget, drop your thoughts in the comments. We already see you guys are dropping some comments. Thank you so much for that. You can talk to us about what you thought of CF Montreal, what you thought of FC Supra's performance, what needs to change, what stood out to you or whatnot. Make sure you're also following us on all of our social medias for daily updates, clips, and breaking takes covering anything CF Montreal, Roses FC, and FC Supra de Quebec. All right, let's get right into the game. FC Supra de Quebec versus Pacific FC. Guys, they won! I had to yell it. They won. Victory! I haven't said that in so long. But they FC Supra de Quebec.
Okay, I think the whole show we're gonna take some jabs to CF Montreal.
I'm getting red.
I'm sorry, but like,
if the shoe fits,
it's too easy. It's too
We're
easy.
numb. We're numb though, right?
Yeah.
We're numb. We feel nothing anymore.
Yeah.
So look, both of you. Let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about the victory. Both of you were at Stade Saputo and witnessed the frustration, the drama, everything that came with it. We're not talking about that right now. But in all that, what kind of got lost was that there was actually a game right after, right? Because I think all of us were feeling very frustrated and mad at what had just happened. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But at what point on Saturday night, you guys are like, hey, there's another game. There's another game to watch. And I'm actually maybe a little bit excited. How are you guys feeling before the game? Given the context of what you just had watched at the stadium, how are you guys feeling about the game coming up? Elias, I'll start with you.
At like 4:34 p.m. on Saturday, I was like, all right, Supra, let's go. No, not exactly like that. I had to go do a press conference and write an article about said press conference, and then was subsequently kind of let down by the club on that part. In no article, so I literally had to. Well, I could tell you the exact time that I shifted my focus to Supra, because it was the second I hung up with my editor after I told him, "Hey, there's no press conference. What the fuck is happening?" And so around 5:00 p.m. and then I realized, okay, a bunch of journalists hung around the car park to see if Marco Donadel was going to exit. He did not. He decided to outweight us, and he won. Congratulations, sir. And then I went home and I watched the Supra, and it was fantastic.
How were you feeling about the game? Were you excited? Were you curious? Were you I don't know. How did you feel about that game?
I was so excited and so terrified at the same time, because I think the way Rocco talks about, again, I'm not working for the club. I didn't found the club, so obviously it's a different level of nerves. But I was like, God, I hope. Again, we talked about this during the preview episode with Hans. God, I hope this is a competitive team. God, I hope this team does us proud. And God, I hope this team is taken seriously. And everything about what we saw on Saturday evening says absolutely.
Can I tell you how?
By the way, I have it in my head, and I wrote it down. Your predictions for this year for the FC Supra, by guys. Huh? Just
I know.
Yeah, I'm watching you. You guys said 7.
It sounds like a threat.
You
like
guys said 7th. 7th.
I was angry. I never made a prediction. Relax, okay?
You did. You said 7th.
I just copied whatever Elias said. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah. Throw me under the bus. Yeah.
I know nothing. But look, I was similar to Elias. I had just witnessed it on TV because I could not be at the stadium. What had happened, and obviously I called Elias. We spoke, right, Elias, about what was going on, and I was like, you know what, Andy? You know what you have to do right now, Andy? Is block it off. Block off whatever the hell's happening on the other side, and now you got something exciting. I was excited, but similar to Elias, I was like, I was in practice that week, and I did see FC Supra's last practice, and I was excited by what I saw, but it doesn't compare to seeing it in a game, right? But
yeah.
I felt throughout the practice that there was a high intensity, and these players were motivated. They didn't seem like a new team or maybe outcasts. They actually looked like a unified pro team that were ready to go, ready to prove something. And that starts from practice. I've been to CF Montreal practices and I've been to FC Super practices. I've been to Rose's FC practice. And the FC Super practice that I went to, I got to say, there was energy there. There was a lot of energy to want to do something. And that told me a lot, because that same energy we saw throughout the game. Hadi, how are you feeling? I know we're talking a lot about feelings here, and I'm not used to talking about feelings, but
It's a feeling circle. It's a sharing circle.
No, honestly, I think all the nervousness, all the emotions were already, I'm not going to say gone, but the big emotions were first when they announced the team, when they built the roster. Those emotions were very, very strong before the game, because I wasn't sure what to expect from the team. Like I sent you a message for last week's episode. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was excited that I would have to see the game and to watch the game, yes, but I wasn't really nervous. I was just, at last, there was this a sense of fulfillment that I was like, we did it. We have a team on the pitch, a Quebec team on the pitch. And it's more that, and then the scenario of the game. That's what you want to see, right? That's why you love soccer, right? Like, you can't.
They told us no matter what, it wasn't going to be boring, right?
Exactly, and not only that, the win at the end, the adrenaline that you get, this is why you watch soccer. This is why we're soccer fans, for these moments, that second where the last goal of the game, goes in, and you're like, you feel that sense of energy that comes from you don't know where, and you just want to explode. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think we all felt. I can tell you guys at some point, and we'll get right into the game, guys. And sorry for listeners. Thank you, not sorry, but thank you so much for being patient. It was also our first game, right? So there were a lot of things going on. I do remember maybe in the 15th minute of the game, I remember just watching and I saw the logo of FC Supra up there, and I was like, it's really happening. They're playing a game. It's where I'm watching their first professional game, and
yeah.
And it just hit me. I was like, okay, back to focusing, Andy. But it's and it's probably gonna be even crazier next week when it's a home game, right? And it's here in Montreal, whatever. Something. But okay,
in Montreal.
Sorry, I'm not from the city.
I live in Montreal. It's 10 minutes away. We're in Montreal.
That sounded so creepy. How do you? I was like, this guy's gonna take out his binoculars.
Oh man, no, I'm just gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. By the way, we forgot to ask Rocco, like, where can we get tickets? Maybe that would
yeah, let's bring him back on. Come on.
No, but like, if you guys know, like, I think it would be nice to share.
That game's
with
probably
everybody.
sold out. Let's be honest here. That game's probably sold out.
Oh, 1,000%.
Really? Already? No
I
more
wouldn't be
tickets
surprised.
left?
Especially after they won. I wouldn't be surprised if it's already sold out. But
guys
I'm
wanna
sure
be
if you
there?
guys go to the Supra website,
I don't
I'm sure you
think-
could find tickets.
I don't think there's tickets on the Supra. I saw season tickets there.
Let me ask.
I didn't see any.
me
Or
ask.
maybe I'm just.
Well, we are not the PR folks. If you
Anyways,
wanna find out
guys,
how to buy
we're in the
tickets,
middle of
go
the
to
show,
Supra
so we gotta get a
social
move on.
media.
Damn it, Hadi,
Right?
look what you do.
We're not.
Sorry,
Unless
man,
unless
sorry,
I
man.
get commission for the tickets, we're not telling people where to get tickets.
Okay.
I've never seen this side of All right, so let's look at the lineup. The first official lineup of FC Supra du Québec. At the top, we had Loïc Quemi. On the left, we had David Chouanière, who, ironically enough, is called Mathieu Chouanière. Clément Bahia, and then we have Maro Biello in the middle, Sissoko in the middle, Sean Rea as a 10. I wouldn't put him as a right middle. Abzi on the left, Chrétien and Yeo on the back, in the back line, Auguste on the right, and Milich as goalie. All right, thoughts on that lineup. How do y'all start with you?
Honestly, not a lot of surprises. I think in the starting 11, in my opinion, like, it's the starting 11 that we were expecting. Maybe Charles Auguste, I wasn't sure that he was going to start, but the rest, I think we were all expecting for all those players to start the game. No, I was happy to see that we read we read the roster right in a way. And I was super excited to see. There's not. I don't like it when the coach tries to be, intelligent and to put a trick on the starting 11 for the first game of the
Are you
season.
taking another shot at CF Montreal?
I might. No, like
Who said that?
I don't like when people surprise me with stuff.
No, but like I don't care if they do in the
Yeah.
middle of the season, but not for the first game. The first game, it should be your normal
No,
starting 11, and
I
that's
Unless you're Laurent Costa.
I
Go
like
ahead.
that. I like that.
And Elias, what do you think of the lineup? What were your thoughts when you
I was super happy with it, honestly. I think that, you know what, like Eddie said, you put your best 11 players on the field. I was surprised, no Keyshawn Ferdinand. I think
Yeah.
that I thought he would have been gone in maybe ahead of Ismail Yo. But besides that, again, there was some conversations about who's going to end up playing at right back. Charles Auguste is one of those Swiss Army knives that can kind of play everywhere. Clément Bailly is more of a wing back than a proper conventional right back. So I was very curious to see where he was going to end up. He ended up playing right wing, but when they defended, he tracked way back and Auguste kind of tucked in. So I wasn't too surprised by how this lineup looked, and I think that's a good thing. The only other real debate was where does Louis Queen play, and does Conde or Marcoux kind of take the 9 spot and he plays on the wing or something like that. But that was the real only debate. And look, sometimes don't overthink it. Louis Quimie is arguably your best striker of the ball. Put him at striker, and it paid cash, right? But so I really wasn't too caught up in any real big snubs or anything like that in the starting 11.
Yeah, for sure. I was I had seen the lineup during practice and midweek, and the only question I had, so I wasn't surprised obviously, but the only question I had was the back line, because I did see Chrétien and Yao in practice, and I was like, first of all, Chrétien is a big kid. Honestly, I'll
He's
tell
a
you
tall kid.
he's a big kid, and you saw it in the game. He has a lot of potential. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I find that he's one of the players to watch this season because I want to see how he develops. I think similar, and I know I'm throwing names out there, and I'm not saying that he's like them, but you see a George Campbell or an Efrain Morales, somebody that's big and learns to use their body the right way as a defender. They can be special, and that's what I see from Chrétien. But it's only one game, so we'll see. But let's go ahead and talk about the game overall. Okay, we're not gonna break it down position by position. Just overall, tell me, what were your thoughts on the game? Hadi, I'll start with you.
Roller coaster of emotions. It was. I felt honestly that there was raw talent. I'm not going to talk a lot about tactics and what we saw in the game because it's the first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You see that there's a lot of things that they need to improve on, and that's normal. First game of the season, it's going to take a bit of time. But what I liked is the emotions that they put on the field, the fact that they never back down, the fact that they were offensively, there were a lot of chances created.
Yep.
And every one of these players knew their role in a way for this first game. I loved each one of them. I think they all played their role perfectly. And usually the most difficult thing when you start a first game is to have that structure defensively. And I think it's kind of normal that we saw what we saw. But no, I think the game was very, very entertaining. And of course, I'm super happy we had a win.
Yeah, naturally.
Elias?
Yeah, I very much share my agreement with Maxim, who says they have to change that video review rule.
Weird.
The coaches got a trick to get the refs to give second yellows. I 100% agree. I think the challenge is dumb. I understand that if you don't have the resources to have VAR, this is an okay alternative, but they have to narrow down the parameters to which you can challenge. It should be, like offside, goal, penalty, red card. And if
Yeah,
it's no,
exactly.
it's not a. You're right. It's not a yellow red card, but I'll give a yellow. No,
Yeah,
no, no, no,
I
no.
agree with
If it's
that.
not a red card.
There's
The ref
nothing.
missed it.
Yeah, too bad.
Leave it alone.
Dude,
Yeah.
if
Right?
it's too complex, then
This
it
whole
becomes hockey,
nonsense, and like I completely understand why Pacific and Pacific fans would feel hard done by that last minute red card, because it's dumb. It's dumb, and it wastes so much time.
Yeah.
Because there's and if you get it right, I think you keep your challenge. So you could have like unlimited challenges during the game. If you get it wrong, you lose your challenge. So either they have to narrow down what is challengeable, or they have to de-incentivize it, because losing your challenge doesn't really change anything on the pitch. It just means you have fewer challenges. Give somebody a corner, have a designated area on the field where like you lose your challenge, is a free kick from right there. Have some actual real risk. You get it wrong in the NHL, it's a penalty. You go kill a penalty.
That's yeah, but like how
there has to be an element of like you are so sure that the ref is wrong, you are willing to.
Yeah, but how
conceding a
how
goal.
does it translate to soccer? Like
you give the other team a corner. It's the challenge is wrong. Give them a corner.
Voyons, Elias, I don't want to play in your league, but look,
You rather just have coaches challenge for whatever the hell.
No,
they
I don't
feel
like it.
no,
Honestly,
like a corner is like I
let's
and
talk.
Rocco said it. And Rocco said it, right? The that challenge gave the team a 2-3 minute breather, so people are going to start using this tactically.
Yeah,
You're going to see somebody like
agree.
look at someone the wrong way and go, "Hey, that's a red card." Guys, drink some water.
Elias, I agree that something like there should be a penalty for for coaches that don't have like a successful challenge. I completely agree. A corner for me is not the answer. Maybe a yellow card for the coach.
Yeah, but the coach. Then you're gonna have some Diego Simeone, Marco Donadel kind of coaches say, "I'll get sent off if it means I wasted a little bit of time and I give my players a break."
But like,
and they will do that.
If let's say they challenge a call like just in front of the goal area, and then it's unsuccessful, like they go back on the other side of the pitch to do a corner, like. It doesn't make sense, man. It's not basketball, right? Okay. I don't know.
I just asked you how the game went. What the hell are we talking about that card, man? Like, seriously, Hadi?
It's not me. It's Elias.
Yeah, hey, I guess I'm the devil for interacting. I'm the devil for interacting with our listeners.
What?
Yeah, that's.
But
it's all my fault for engaging with the chat. Okay, I'll stop. Sorry, I'll never do it again.
No, please do it.
Man.
Choose your moment.
Besides that, actually on the field, in terms of actual performance, I kind of agree with Hadi. I like that the team was at least set up to execute what was asked of them. Again, I'm not looking for tactical refinement on game one. I'm looking for people that are comfortable in their areas and that can execute individually what they need to do to be successful. One thing I didn't love was the right side of defense, because I feel like Clément Baillet was doing an insane amount of running, and that left gaps. And you look at both goals; they came from crosses from the right side of the defense into areas that frankly should have been covered better. And I think that if they're going to be doing this thing where they have Charles Auguste as a hybrid outside center back / right back, depending on whether or not they have the ball, and they have a right winger tracking up and down, there needs to be some kind of mitigation, because both goals happened exactly the same way. And look, you have Diadine Abdi on the other side, and you have Mathis Chrétien. That's super solid. But sometimes you have people that either haven't played together or not maybe at the same level. Then things get a little bit complicated. And so that was my biggest takeaway, besides the fact, all the stuff that we've talked about in the offense and the chance creation. That's what stuck out to me maybe as a bit more concerning.
Yeah, well, for me, it was similar to that. I thought, as Rocco mentioned, the attack was lethal. It was really, really, and they did a lot of work, not just defensively, but also helping defensively. But what really concerns me, and I need to watch more games before we really start having a longer conversation about it, but what really concerns me is the middle and the defense. Not to say that they're bad, but there were too many moments during the game that I said, I don't know, maybe another team with more talent, because I'm going to be honest, Pacific wasn't playing their best game. I think they were surprised by FC Supra's intensity and speed, and that threw them off their game. But at the same time, I think FC Supra is going to face tougher challenges throughout the season. And as we mentioned in the previous show, there are going to be injuries, suspensions, all these things, especially if we're talking about cards that are changing. Because, guys, let me just go back to the card thing. First of all, how much shit did people put out there because of the VAR and how it ruined the flow of the game and all that? Now, in the CPL, you have the card thing that to me took up a lot of time. And more than anything, it's hard to understand what exactly they're doing. And if it goes the other way, where it's FC Supra that gets that second yellow and a red card, and maybe they get scored on last minute, we're having a whole different conversation today. So it's going to be a very tricky thing to navigate for FC Supra, and we're definitely going to have to learn how to go. Who was your top performer of the night, Harry?
I will go with Loic Quemi. The reason behind it is very simple. I think he needed his revenge. 2024, he went with Valor. It didn't work very well for him. No other team came and knocked on the door for him. And this game, for me, he could have scored 3 goals, but he was so dangerous. So dangerous. And he proved that he can be a force, not only for FC Supra, but within the league, a force to be reckoned with. And I was so happy for him because this guy has done so much for Quebec soccer, and I think he deserves this.
Elias?
It's kind of a two-part, but Abzi and Chouanière together on the left side is unbelievable. I'm gonna go with Abzi as my man of the match, just because he was unbelievable. But Chouanière and Abzi together on the left side is going to be so important for this team, because even just their existence creates space on the other side. Like Clément Baya got a half dozen 1v1s because of the fact that they were sending more people than they should have to the other side of the pitch. And Baya one-on-one was fantastic. He got an assist out of it and was fantastic. It was excellent. They sent more people to the left, and that's how the winning goal was created, because nobody was marking Alexandre Marcoux at the back post. So that left side is going to be so good. After game 1.
And you know what, Elias? What's really interesting is that they were very strong, and in front of them you had Kane and Chung. He's not.
They didn't have scrubs.
He's not a nobody, right? Chung is someone that was called to the national team at one point, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but this guy is not we're not talking about an average player. He's supposed to be. He's one of those players that is very established in the CPL. So props to them, to Abzi and Chouanière.
I'm gonna pick my guy and say Sean Rea. Sean Rea, I thought, played an outstanding game. He was everywhere in the field. He kept going back for the ball. He was influencing the attack. I think he has a lot to prove this season, not just for the CPL, but for MLS and for his future. And we'll talk more about him with more games, but I'm actually really, really happy what I saw. High energy, very commanding in the field. Is that short enough for you, Hadi? All right, so who didn't? That's what she said. Who didn't quite meet the
that's what she didn't say.
Guys, come on. We have kids watching this show.
Family guys, come on.
Who didn't quite meet the expectations on Saturday night? Elias, I'll start with you because Hadi's losing his shit.
I'm gonna go with Alessandro Biello.
Same.
I think that he had a good game in possession. I think he did exactly what was asked of him as a pivot. I think he worked well with Abubakar Sissoko in possession. Out of position, I don't think that he was as effective. I think especially when you put it in comparison to someone like Sissoko, whose engine is phenomenal and who was doing a lot of the work. They didn't let anything past them super dangerous, because I don't think that, Pacific were that efficient down the middle of the pitch, at least until they got into the penalty area. That's where they scored both goals in the middle, but that's more center backs than midfielders. But I do think that Alessandro Biello did look a bit out of place at times. They didn't have to pay for it. They were successful at mitigating a lot of the stuff, but I think that honestly, you play against teams with proper number 10s and proper number 9s, life could get a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, me too. I was very, very disappointed with not okay. That's harsh. I wasn't. I think I was expecting a lot more from Alessandro Biello. I found that at times he was a step behind some of the attackers, and that's not what you want to see from. I don't know how old he is now, 18, 19, but I mean he's not the
It's
oldest
19.
player, but you definitely want to see him be a lot more apt to that speed of the game. Maybe that's going to improve. He's actually wearing the number 6. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that could be saying
It's a big
something,
number.
huh? And so yeah, it's I think it's important. I don't think he's the fastest player. He's a very physical player, but at some point, I'm sorry guys, we've seen him since CF Montreal, and I don't see him getting any bigger in that time. And if he's going to play that midfield position, especially in a physical league like the CPL, I think he's going to have to up his game a bit. But we have a lot of games to watch, right? So maybe I'm going to be completely proven next week. What about you, Hari? Who was your maybe the player that didn't quite meet the expectations on Saturday?
Nobody. I
Okay, great.
refuse to give a player that. No,
I didn't know that was an
no,
option.
nobody.
No,
I would have
but
Sorry.
said
everybody was
nobody.
great.
No,
But
nobody. Nah, nah. Guys, first
I
game of
didn't
the
know I could do
season.
that.
We won the game against Pacific FC on their turf. I'm sorry. No. Props to everybody. You guys made us proud.
Wait a minute. No, hold on a second.
Hari's changed. Fuck this, man.
Wait a second. Now, pump the brakes. I've for 3 years now, I've been getting shit because I don't answer the goddamn question.
Hey, I'm not taking it on the pod anymore.
Everybody's
I'm
come
out.
on. Everybody's great.
I've gotten shit from both of you because I don't answer the question
Fuck.
and I dance around it. Here's Hadi straight up refusing to answer the question, not even dancing, or he's like, no.
You know why? Because he wants to get a high five on the game on Saturday from everybody.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Last chance.
No.
All right.
God,
Oh, man. All right. So, surprise performers. I know we talked about top performers. Was there anybody that surprised you throughout the game, for good or for bad?
I don't think it was a surprise that he was going to play well. I think it was a surprise that he was going to play this well. Was Joaquin Mili?
Man,
Oh my God!
why is he the one starting all the time?
Because you're not answering the questions, Heidi. You're not answering the goddamn
At this point, you're just watching us.
Honestly. Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.
All right, go on, Elias.
Great choice.
Joaquin Mili is an excellent goalkeeper. He was fantastic. He was the easy number 1 starter for this club, but he stood on his head. And they could have easily scored 4 or 5 goals if not for him. He made some fantastic, including one on the first half that was so good they challenged it because they thought it went in. Chapeau to Joaquin Mili, unbelievable game, and especially with a defense that still needs some work, he's going to have a lot of games like this because he was unbelievable.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know him before. Like, I didn't know him at all. So I was very surprised by his level of play and a very pleasant surprise, I think. Very, very pleasant surprise. Like, I thought I wasn't sure what to expect from him. And I'm like, maybe they're going to have to go and target another goalkeeper next year or whatever. But you know what? If Mili is here and, is able to play at this level, the whole season, you have your number 1 for years. So, yeah. No, super, super, super excited by the player.
And he's a special person too, because when I saw him in practice, he's almost like a Sebastian Breza. He's the one that commands the the goalposts, and he has a personality, and it's something that's necessary for a goalie. For me, it was Clement Baya on the right side. I think he does all the dirty work. He did a lot, and I saw it in practice too. He has a hustle, and he really does. He is another profile that I really want to keep a close eye on, because I think that if he develops well, and obviously he can play as many games as possible, he will be someone that's very interesting, just because of the hard physical work he does on the right side and how that creates opportunities for the rest of the players, and he brings the opponents to him. So very, very Very interesting profile. Okay, so let's move on to next week, where, as we talked about, there's the next home game in the Sepsum. Huge matchup against Atletico Ottawa. What can FC Super do to keep that momentum going? How do you start with you?
Honestly, I like the answer of Rocco because we did ask him I did ask him the question, and for me, I like his answer because he can't put too much pressure on his players.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, a draw is the minimum. Like a win should be the target because you need to win that first home game. The problem is you're playing against a powerhouse in the CPL. You're playing against, for me, you have three teams that are above the rest in CPL. You have Forge FC, you have Ottawa, and you have Cavalry. And those three are really very hard to play against. So it's gonna be tough, but you're playing at home, you're playing at the Sepsum. You're gonna have, like Elias said, a full house. Like they need to show up and they need to make sure that if they lose, that it's like they give everything they have in order not to lose. Like we need to make sure that they're giving their all. And I think that's going to be the most important in order to have at least a draw.
Elias?
I really hope they approach this in a very similar way they approach Pacific, because Rocco was talking about how everyone is super locked in and everyone was wired. But sometimes you're so focused on doing well, and you're so focused, especially in a team that has so many quality attackers, that all they're focused on is getting forward, getting forward, getting forward, creating chances, scoring, and the game is too open. They get countered, and life becomes miserable. But they were very humble in the way they played. For the most part, I think they were, when they realized they had to drop into a low block, they did it. And there was no complaining, there was nobody cheating, there's nobody going, okay, I'm in a low block now, but I'm getting forward now. No. We get in a low block, we stay in the low block until we're out of it. And everyone was very disciplined. And that's something I really liked when they realized they had to hunker down, especially at the end of the first half when Pacific had the majority of the tempo and the momentum for the last 10-15 minutes. They accepted it and they stayed disciplined, and then they found their moments, especially, and then in the second half that continued. It's a team like Ottawa that's going to be the same thing, dialed up to 11. Ottawa's going to control more of the ball. Ottawa's going to put more pressure. Ottawa's going to ask more questions of individuals, and they're going to be able to identify some of those bad matchups just because they're that much better of a team. So I hope that the team stays with that same mentality of, our chances will come. And our opportunity to get forward and show what we can do will come. But first and foremost, you keep the ball out of the net. And I'm really excited to see, because, again, when you're defending and the home crowd is going crazy for you, it's much easier. And when you think you have 60 minutes in the legs, all of a sudden you have 75. And when you have 90 minutes in your legs, all of a sudden you have 120. And so everything becomes infinitely easier, And so I'm really looking forward to that. But again, I'm looking forward to them not getting caught up in the moment and them still delivering a very sound and balanced game, kind of like what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Atletico Ottawa is going to be the kind of team that's, if we thought that the first game was going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of intensity for FC Supra, I think this game is really, really going to be difficult, not just on the field but outside, because also a lot of these players also do come from Montreal, and so they're, in a way, for them it's also coming back home. But it's going to be very important for them to continue that intensity and play with their hearts and prove that not everything has to be tactically. Sometimes there's also, as Rocco mentioned, la grinta, right? La grinta sometimes makes the difference between a win and loss, and that's something that they're going to have to prove, that is there. It wasn't just a miracle or just because Pacific FC played bad, that FC Super is for real, and that they can actually, beat big teams in the CPL and do it constantly. So this is going to be a very important game, very exciting for the fans of Montreal, and an important one, especially given that CF Montreal is not doing well, which leads me to our next topic. But before we get
Wonderful
into
transition.
it, before we jump into the fun stuff, quick shout out to everyone watching live right now. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss when we go live or drop a new episode. It honestly helps us a ton and keeps this thing growing every single week. And hey, get in the chat, get in the comments. We want to hear from you guys tonight. We're always checking the comments. We're always reading what you guys have to say. As you guys, we showed a few comments that you guys already did. And don't forget, make sure you are following us on all of our socials for daily updates, clips, interviews, and breaking takes covering CF Montreal, Roses FC, and FC Supra de Quebec. It is happening in Montreal soccer. Trust me, we got you covered. All right, CF Montreal, baby! It's time. So,
You're the only one excited to do this part, Andy.
I tried, and I lost.
He's like yelling, Andy now, like, oh my fucking God.
I tried.
You tried.
Unfortunately, we started the show with the good, but now we have to finish with the bad. CF Montreal fell this weekend to the last place Philadelphia Union, which last week, what did you say, Elias, about that game?
Please, for the love of God, don't lose because you might. And they did. And they fucking did it.
Elias said,
Bravo.
why wouldn't? Elias literally went on the show and said, Philadelphia will get 3 points. We'll get 3 points, and why not? They will. And last week in the show, no, not just last week. It's been 3-4 weeks. We even took a break between weeks, and even the continuously said, Marco Donadel is not the right coach for this team. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. He's not a good coach for this team and for this league. So it finished, but it didn't finish just there. As Elias mentioned earlier in the show, there was a whole drama happening. But Elias already talked a little bit about it, how it was going, the crazy shit show that was going on in the background with the media and the cancel press. Hadi, you were in the stands. You were with the fans. You felt the heartbeat of the Stade Saputo, half a heartbeat because it was half filled. But tell us a little bit, how was that experience? How was the flow of the game in the stands? I'm not even talking about the field right now. In the stands, how, did it, at any point, did you feel that the fans said, screw it, it's done with Donadel, we're over it? What was your vibe?
Okay. First of all, we switched places in the stadium, my friend and I, because
Where were you?
In 134.
Okay.
I was in 115, and then when I learned that the supporters are the 114, we're gonna move to the other side to 133. I was like, okay, let's go and be next to the supporters, because for me, watching a game without the ambiance of the supporters, it's not worth it. If you're at the stadium, I want to hear people chant. And so I was in 134. Honestly, I thought that having the two supporters group next to each other, you would hear a lot more noise. Man, I swear, I was pretty sure they weren't singing at all during the whole game.
Oh, yeah?
But it's a feeling, because I feel that everybody lost hope with that team, and it's only been 7 games. Like, how can you be like, usually when you start the season, it's irrelevant what happened the season prior to that same season. Usually you're always pumped up at the beginning of the season. And you're always pumped up at the beginning of the season at home, even if you had 5-6 games away from home. And if you lost them all, you didn't lose them all, but if you lost them all, you would have been pumped up because we're at home now. But I felt that everybody was like, okay, just please, can we just get that thing out of the way so we can move on with our life? Like, I didn't feel the intensity in the stands. And for me, that's bad. How are you going to sell your product if your fans are not sold on the product at all? So I didn't. Yeah, it was very weird. First time I experienced that at the beginning of the season. I read so many articles about the Antelus night, saying, "Oh yeah, the fans were behind it." Oh,
because you guys were there. You and Elias were at the event. Yeah.
Sorry, man. I've been to those things every year for the past 10 years. It was the worst one. Of course, fans are going to be excited. They're able to see the players. Yeah, for sure. But like, the level of excitement was not that much. It wasn't loud. it wasn't as loud as it was before. Like people were here just because they had tickets, right? So I don't know. There was that kind of feeling for me, not only on Wednesday but also in the stands on Saturday. To answer your question briefly.
Elias, and you had, I know you talked a little bit at the end, the canceled press conference and all that, but throughout the game and also the MTELs, because in both you participated as a media member, what was the vibe like around with your, with your colleagues, the reporter, everybody there, what, from the MTELs
Yeah.
to the game and the end?
I mean, I had a much more positive takeaway from MTELUS because I was just happy they didn't boo anybody.
There you go.
Honestly. I was like, silver lines. I agree with Hattie that, despite it being an overwhelmingly positive environment, even last year where they came in and were arguably worse than they were this season in terms of performances.
Yeah. Do you remember the cheers for
It was
Laurent Courtois
louder.
last
They were
year?
chanting. They were singing. They were doing all the
Yeah.
and and it's a shame because I feel like the product, we talked about this. The product itself was better. They had Fred Laure and Olivier Brett handling the animation. I think that was a nice touch because they're actual journalists who know how to ask questions and engage. But the crowd cheered, but there was no singing, there was no chanting, there was no none of that. So yeah, I think that the energy was a bit weird. And in the stadium again, when we're in the press box, especially in the month of April, the month of and before late May, we're in the fishbowl. The windows are closed, so you don't really hear all that much. I did hear some chanting here and there, but I agree with
That's
Hattie.
true. Even when it's very hot outside, it's closed and there's AC. Come on,
you gotta take care of your journalists.
Depends on how hot it is. If it's plus 30
and
the humidity's at 1,000,000, I'm not sitting there sweating. Right? I got a job.
I was always making fun of Elias, saying, "Man, Elias, why are you there?" I always sat outside.
Because I have to write my articles. I can't be dripping sweat, or my fingers can't be shaking while I'm typing, and I have.
He's
to
never
type with
coming back.
Fingers.
All right.
So,
all right.
yeah, I still think that the atmosphere was okay. It's definitely not at the level that we've come to expect from Stade Saputo for good reason. I mean, it's very easy to be morally exhausted, right? Let's face it, the fans are emotionally drained from watching this team, and I can't blame them. So I don't know to say whether or not this joining of the two sections was a success or not yet. I was not a fan when they announced it, but I understood because 1642 MTL was shrinking a little bit, and then the two sides were a little bit lopsided. I think that having both sides chant the same thing was nice, but the vibes, I mean, how do you said it, the vibes were definitely off. And after the game, we were kind of joking around, like, imagine Lucas Saputo comes out for the post-game press conference, says, hey, he's gone, that's it. We said it as a joke, and then Hassoun Camara walks out and he sits down. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, so again, when we heard that there was going to be no press conference, the writing was on the wall, right? And we kept on asking Hassoun, and he said there's no additional comment. When we asked Hassoun, whose decision is this? What does this mean? He just looks at us and goes, there's no additional comment, right? Like we all know what this means. We're not idiots, So that was a very uncomfortable moment. But let's face it, in my 6 years of covering this club, it's nowhere near the most uncomfortable moment I've had. So
no, but let's talk about that, because I do want to ask the question. Like, we're gonna get into the firing in a bit, but like, to me, let's just say nothing happens. Okay, nothing happens. He doesn't get fired. Okay, he stays the coach. We lose against Philly. Where do we go from there? I mean, I'm not saying that his firing is the solution, not at all. But he wasn't part of the solution. So if he stays after you saw what your stadium is like, sorry, Hattie, if you felt that while you were there, if you felt that at MTELUS, and we're not even in today's show, I'm sorry, guys, if you thought we were going to talk about the X's and O's, we're not, because what's the point? It was a terrible game. I don't feel like talking about it. We're going to talk about the storylines that happened.
For sure.
Because if you're feeling that in the stadium, it's not Saputo, then the owners are hearing it. They're not dumb. They feel
Yeah,
the vibe, and that's their business. That's their
yeah.
everyday. Elias, you've been to practice, and you can see how the vibe changes week after week, loss after loss. Even the players start feeling a certain kind of way, right?
Yeah.
I saw a team that in the last 10 minutes of the game just did not care anymore. And that's something that we've gone on this show and said it over and over again. This team fights for Marco Donadel. They continue to fight. As bad as they are, Prince Owosu, those players that really shown last season, they were fighting till the end for Marco Donadel. But at last game, I didn't see a fight anymore. I thought they were done, and that's where I think that the owners also, the Saputo, Lucas Saputo felt it was time. It was time to move on. So let's start with that. Let's start with the decision itself to have fired Marco Donadel yesterday. What was it? 9:30 in the morning. Everybody got that tweet, the email. Hattie, was it the right time to fire Marco Donadel? Does this actually solve anything? Like, does it solve any, or is it just putting a band-aid on a much higher problem? Which, by the way, Rocco mentioned a band-aid, right?
I will divulge information that happened on our WhatsApp of the three of us last year. And you guys asked me at the end of the year, we were talking all together, and you asked me before they announced that Marco Donadel was going to be the permanent head coach. And then you guys, we were talking, and you asked me, do you think he should be the head coach? And I have the proof. For me, I didn't see anything from Marco Donadel. So for me, I wasn't sold on Marco Donadel from the get-go. Like, okay, as an interim manager, but as a permanent manager, I haven't seen any improvement from the team since March last year to right now. And we can talk about the players as much as we want, but that's the coach. And for me, this decision is the right one. I think CF Montreal need to learn on how to give the bad news in a way also. Maybe I don't like the fact that there wasn't any press conference. I don't like the fact that whatever, like things have to be done in another way, but the decision
who's
to
handling
fire
the media,
him.
Adi? You're saying to deliver the message, but who's handling the media? Who's handling the messages? Who's
What
doing
do you
that
mean?
now?
Who's
in charge of doing
If you're
that?
not going to send out, if you
Marco
may as well just send
Donadel?
out two players, send
You
out two
send two
players so
players,
people can ask their
exactly.
questions,
You send two
and
players.
don't
You
send a
say
coach out.
exactly,
And don't send a
exactly.
coach out.
You can do that. You can't do all like create even more drama than there is already.
By silence.
Like it's not even silence. It's worse than silence. It's worse than silence because Asu Kamara came out and said, there's no press conference. They canceled a pre-programmed press conference. Like
That is mandatory by the league, by the way.
How are we gonna take you seriously, guys? Like, what? Like, I'm sorry. You hire Laurent Courtois, then you hire the next coach as an assistant coach, and then that assistant coach is not good as a coach, and then you give him an extension, and then when shit hit the fan, you're like, no press conference, so let's shit on the media now. Like, what the hell? Like, I thought that the communications department had some sort of renewal with people that had experience and stuff like that. Nope. What the hell the message are you sending now? You're telling all those paid journalists that have been watching your shitty team for I don't know how many weeks. You're telling them, you know what? I'm not going to give you content for you to write about. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Now, the firing of I'm sorry, I got very emotional because for me, this is I don't get it. I don't get it.
We don't have emotion on this show.
I'm a fan from a club that has seen its share of shit shows. Okay? I'm a fan of a club that has seen its share of shit shows. Okay? But this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And at the same time, I think it was the right decision to fire Marco Donadel now, because what's the point of telling him, you know what, you're going to have one more home game you need to win? No, they knew already that he's not fit for the job. I just wish that they saw that the first time before giving him the permanent position. Because I saw it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people saw it too. I'm not the only one. Sorry.
Hadi,
I was long.
do you remember last time? Yeah, seriously. Last time, do you remember when you came on the show? I told you that my wife texted me something in the middle of the show.
Yeah.
She said to stop yelling.
Yeah.
Guess what she texted me just now? To
Hadi
stop
needs to stop
yelling.
shouting.
Every fucking time you're here, I start yelling. All right, so
You raise his blood pressure. Heidi.
oh man, I'm becoming Rocco. Anyway, so let's start. Let's talk about that, right? So, Elias, did you think it was the right time? Do you think they should have waited? Do you think they should have done it before the season? What do you make of this? Of the timing?
I've been adamant about this. I don't think that he was going to be the coach to take this team to the next level. But when you're in year one of a rebuild, you need some level of consistency somewhere. If you're going to have the roster turnover that you do, something else has to stay consistent. And I think that he had earned at least the benefit of the doubt just because he managed to get the players on board with what he was doing, right? Even if he was there for one more year and this year was marginally improved and he stays out and he leaves at the end of that year, I would understand that. But I think that something had to stay at least a little bit consistent amidst all the changing of the roster. Now, what we talked about last week, right? I said that if they lose it against Philadelphia on Saturday, I won't call for his head, but I won't defend him either. I won't say that, I don't know anymore. If they fired him,
You're kind of defending him now, right?
Elias was
no, because I said I gave him the benefit of the doubt when he became the permanent manager. But now, exactly, I said, if he loses against Philly, right, especially if he loses in a way that he looks bad, which he did again, because we got a comment about it earlier, right, from Pat when they subbed in Avilés from
what the hell was that?
If you want to substitute to a center back for a center back, fine. You never do it when you're defending a set piece. So and B, you don't do it with the defender who's playing the best and not with the defender who just came back from injury. Because Brian Vetta just came back from injury. And I saw Avilés warming up, like, okay, Vetta's coming off. He played 70 minutes, whatever. No. If Morales is hurt and you have to get him off now, Morales goes down. And then the physio comes on, you send him on. This man sprinted off the field.
Yeah.
So when Lucas Saputo says there were certain decisions made that we didn't understand, nobody understood them.
No, right? Exactly.
Again, I said I'm not here to defend Marco Donadel anymore because it is beyond defense. Should he have been fired? Yeah, because the statement that we made 3 weeks ago against Cincinnati rings true again, where he is his own worst enemy. Because the first half of Verpa, the first half was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah,
right? You realize that you don't have midfielders that can turn with the ball. Fine, I'm skipping the midfielders. Thankfully, Prince Owusu had an excellent hold up. We're going to talk about X-Nose anyway. Fuck, I mean, I'm impossible. But Prince Owusu was excellent with the hold up play, so you could skip the lines and get to him, and it was fine. The second half, nothing. We saw none of that. And you were in the crowd? I don't know if you saw it, but I saw it right away. The second they scored that second goal, Marco Donadel sat down and did not sign up for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
This is Marco Donadel.
He knew it.
This is Marco Donadel we're talking about. This is one of the most expressive coaches I've ever seen at the club.
Elias, how many?
He was resigned to his fate. So again, I think it was the right decision, but I'm not going to gloat. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not going to pile on any more than I have to, because again, you have to remember, regardless of all the reasons he should have been fired, it's very rare to find a coach that gives a shit the way Marco Donadel gave a shit about this club.
But that's one thing,
and that's one thing that that needs to be remembered, right? This isn't a case of him going, fuck it, right? This is him. He stuck to his guns. It didn't work. Okay. But he still deserves at least some modicum of respect for the effort that he put into this club and for the effort that he put into trying to turn it around. he was his own worst enemy at the end of the day. But I still hold respect because he carried himself like a professional and he carried himself with a great love for the club that we all follow.
Yeah, like I don't, that's not where we're going with like an attack at his person, and because I thought he was a really nice guy, like a very very nice guy. But when we talk about the coach and the person, it's two different things. As a coach, as I said, I don't think he was the right coach for the club and for the league. I think he put up through a lot of stuff, but there is one thing that I will say. Last season, one of the biggest critiques that I had for Marco Donadel was how often he got yellow cards. It almost became a joke how often he got yellow cards or how often he got suspended from the sideline and that David Sauvry had to take over. This season, did he get any red cards? Did he get any yellow cards?
One yellow? I think he got one yellow.
And I'm not saying that's like what he, like if he would have gotten yellow, it's normal. No, what I'm saying is in a lot of ways, it almost feels like this season, Marco Donadel lost himself, lost who he was. Lost, as you mentioned, a coach that is very passionate and likes to bring energy to the sidelines. I thought he was way too calm in the past year. Like, regardless if they were losing or winning, he seemed to be kind of just riding the ride until it finished. And he still coached, but he still made some really self-sabotaging. And we talked about this on the show, Elias. We talked about how he kept getting in his own way. And it was weird because he kept making decisions that would mess him up. It wasn't that the other team was doing things to mess them up. It was literally Marco Donadel self-sabotaging CF Montreal into losses. When, guys, Marco Donadel lost 2 games down 10 men. Up a man. Sorry, I apologize. Up a man. And that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he talked about it. Saputo talked about
exactly.
it.
And that's actually a great transition because now we're going to talk about the new guy, right? Philippe Lafroy. He's the one that's the caretaker. They made that very clear today, and they made it very clear in the announcement. They have to make sure that people have to understand that when they say that he's a caretaker, to me, that's a personal opinion of mine. I don't think Philippe Lafroy wants to be a head coach at this club. I think he's there giving them a favor and helping them out with the youth in the club. It hasn't worked out so far this season. We haven't seen much of Alex Boglu or Owen Graham Roach or the other academy kids. But what do we think of that appointment? And how important is it that Philippe Lafroy brings maybe a breath of fresh air? Dude, he lost 2 assistants. I don't know if they're going to bring anybody this week, but as of now, it's 2 guys on the bench, right? Besides the fitness coaches. Hadi, I'll start with you. What do you think of Philippe Lafroy's appointment as a caretaker?
Honestly, I think it's the right choice. I think Philippe knows the club very well. He's a very calm person, and in a way, I think he brings that calming presence. And in a after everything that happened, I think you need the calming presence. I think it's a good thing right now for him to be here. I hope it's not going to be for too long, because unless you want to scrap the season 2, like, you need to get a coach ASAP. But I think it's the right choice for a caretaker. I think, in my opinion, I don't have any scoop or whatever. In my opinion, it will not last for more than a game. I'm pretty sure we'll have a coach before that. And just throwing it out there, Nancy doesn't have a club, right?
What's the scoop?
Okay, so
I didn't say anything.
Heidi, you're operating under the assumption that Joey Saputo could put his pride aside.
He's not here.
But,
No. This year,
he can be the bigger man. Do you think Wilfried Nancy is not going to come back without a written, signed, notarized apology from Joey Saputo saying, "Please, God, come back, please, please, please"? You think he's not going to? Right?
Yeah,
let's be honest here.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Be the bigger man.
I agree with you. But listen, don't forget that the last job of Wilfried Nancy didn't go well at all.
No.
And I don't think it's going to be very hard for him to find a club in Europe after everything he went through with Celtic. Since the first game, like, you can't even imagine the number of memes there are against Wilfried Nancy. Like, you can't.
Oh, it was rough. I ended up on Celtic Twitter for a week.
Exactly.
Somehow. And it was unrelenting. It was terrible.
Like, yeah. So I don't think he's going to have another chance. So at one point he's going to have to work, right? So I'm just throwing it out there. Yes, I agree with you that I think there's going to be there's going to have to be quite a few discussions, and the egos of both of them will have to be put aside. And I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think Nancy will ever come back. But if there's a perfect situation for Nancy to be back, it's right now, because it's the
100%
right
agree
time.
with you.
So.
I agree. I also think from Nancy's perspective, just as a career move, right? You take a look.
Yeah.
He started in Montreal, tremendous success. He started in Columbus, again, great success, and then a down year before moving to Celtic. And then Celtic was obviously a disaster. For him now, he can't. I mean, he can't afford to, but ideally he doesn't follow up Celtic with another questionable tenure.
Yeah.
Because then he's going to start having questions about his, ability. Because Montreal, he got, he got lightning in a bottle, really, with just the overlap of talent that was on their way out anyway. Columbus, he was able to do kind of whatever he wanted in the first couple of years, and they catered to him until they stopped, and then that last year was a little bit tricky. And then Celtic was obviously, again, a dumpster fire. So he also now has to pick his next project very carefully.
Exactly.
And I don't think he's going to be lining up to put his name on a project like this without assurances. I mean,
100%.
Assurances that cannot be backed out of.
100%.
If I see
Montreal,
Nancy announced as the coach, that means I'm expecting at least 2 or 3 players coming with him.
Yeah, 100%.
And I mean,
but at the same time, CF Montreal doesn't have a lot of leeway either with their fans, with everything that's going on. Now, even the MLS, I don't know if you guys heard and read what Tom Bogert has been saying about CF Montreal. If you guys heard all the One Soccer comments, people are like throwing shit at CF Montreal like crazy.
It's easy.
And it's like right now they need the win. And they need a very quick win, and not on the pitch. On the pitch is not enough.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, for sure.
None of these guys that you guys are saying their names, I've even seen Olivier Renard on the comments.
Nah.
Yes,
can I say something? None of them are coming back if Saputo's the owner. Can I just say that?
It's possible.
I can tell you. They're not coming back.
Olivier Renard will not come back because Lucas Saputo is here, not Joey Saputo.
No, those names you're mentioning are not coming back if the Saputo's are there. I'm
Olivier
sorry, I have to say it. We can speculate all you want, but I'm telling you right now, it's a dead end. If they're there, and I'm not just those 2 names, plenty of staff
for sure.
that have left this team. They will only because, and I will say this, I've heard this directly from some people that have worked in the club. They love this city. They love the club. They love the people of Montreal, but they cannot work with the Saputos. So unfortunately, for all the hope we have, for all the
hope, we're just having a discussion.
And it's just not going to happen. And that's where it's troublesome. It's worrisome because these former staff are going other places and they're talking.
Yeah,
they're talking about the culture. They're talking about their experience.
For sure.
And it's becoming a widespread message around.
Everybody, even the guy from One Soccer, Christian Jack, was talking about. He spoke with a lot of people that were employed by CF Montreal, and it's a shit show, and nobody wants to work there. And he said it. I'm not saying it.
No, but word gets around, and that's what Lucas Saputo's like. My phone's blowing up with resumes. I'm like, okay.
If
you have to say,
people send 100 resumes a day on Indeed. It doesn't mean you're gonna get stuff that's worth interviewing. So you might find 1 or 2 that's worth interviewing, but let's be honest here, right? People found out Marco Donadel. Any coach that's out of work found Marco and sent the CV. Just send it.
Yeah.
So your phone's blowing up. Bravo. I doesn't really matter. You just started your search and you still you say you don't have to convince people. Absolutely, you have to convince people.
All right,
you have to give them the hard sell now. So this is now, please come work for us kind of territory.
It is. And you know what? We are almost pushing the 2-hour mark because we had a a big show today. I just want to finish with this. We saw the Lucas Saputo address the media today. They had the press conference where he talked about the firing of Marco Donadel and also the appointment of Philippe Lafroy, who's going to speak tomorrow to the media. What did you guys think of the press conference? His message, did it maybe light something up inside? Did it give you hope that things are better? What do you guys think of Lucas Saputo? I'll start with you, Hadi.
Oh, let's start with Elias. He was there, so I think it's better
Yeah,
for him. You were
Elias,
at the
go
press
look,
ahead.
conference. Sorry, Andy.
excellent. He's excellent in front of the media, right? He speaks very well. He's
You didn't find him nervous
comfortable.
today?
No. This guy needs a lot. Honestly, based on he's done now 3 or 4 big press conferences where there's been a lot of heat on him, and I think that he handles the pressure well. That being said, we didn't learn anything new. Like a lot of this again. This is a coach's. The coach has been fired press conference. You're not going to learn any scandalous news, right? Especially if it's for tactical reasons. The coach has been. Yeah. We didn't like some of the decisions he made. We didn't understand them. I know. We saw them. So in terms of what he said, there were no pipe bombs, there were nothing crazy, no OMG moments. The only thing that is newsworthy, but not necessarily surprising, is that they fully expect to have a new coach before the World Cup break, which makes sense. I mean, Hadi said one game. I'm not going to throw out any dates specifically, but the World Cup the World Cup break starts in 6 weeks, and that's almost a 2-month break that they have. So you basically have
That's
a
too
mini
much.
off season.
That's
You
too
basically
much.
have a mini off season to kind of at least get the coach in, to get his feet wet, to get their ideas across, and become the coach, right? It's like how do you said, it's not enough, but it's
No.
better than saying, hey, welcome coach, your game is in 4 days. So
Yeah.
again, obviously that is a very natural kind of
Yeah.
deadline that you want to impose on yourself,
For
but
sure.
again, it's not surprising. So there was no real big news to come out of it. um I asked him straight up, why did you cancel the press conference on Saturday? And they're like, we just felt it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it
I
was.
mean, he did apologize to us, so thanks.
I hope
And
so.
and
But I was
and I
like,
do want to
oh,
say
come on.
that
And
because he
he also
did
he took accountability for a couple things. He took accountability, and again, at the end of the day, right? It's a group decision, but it rests on his shoulders. And he
Of
said, look,
course.
I'm going to bear the responsibility of saying of making Marco Donadel permanent coach,
Yeah.
and it was not the right decision. So yeah, you have to take it on the chin. The same way that they took it on the chin in July when they sent out the letter and they said sorry and all that stuff, and they had the press conference at Stade Saputo. But I also need to know that you are being held accountable, right? Because you could take 100 punches from Mike Tyson to the chin. If you are not going to get fired because of your standing in the club and what your last name is, then you taking accountability doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I,
I just go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, if I look at this press conference, from subjectively, yeah, I agree with Elias. I think Lucas Saputo did a hell of a job. Honestly, very precise. Communication was very good. He explained everything. I think it was really well made. He took accountability. He said sorry. He said everything that he needed to say without giving false promises. And I think this is great, right? Right now, I completely agree that this was the best way to answer, the questions. I don't think he could have done anything better. Now, that's how you present stuff, like in front of the media. But I hope that right now he's at home and he's working like a pig to get a coach as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Because saying that we're gonna have a coach before the World Cup break, for me, if you're gonna take 2 months, for me, or a month and a half, you're just throwing the season in the toilet. The season is gone. Completely gone. Because you would have played what, 12, 13 games by the World Cup break. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. I'm not sure.
It's in 6 weeks, so figure about
Maybe 12 or
months.
13. Yeah. Okay. That's a bit more than a third of the games of the season. Like, you don't have a lot to play with after, right? To come back. If you're last in the East, you don't have a lot to play with after. Like, you need to give your fans a bit of hope, or else you're gonna have 10,000 people coming next game, even if it's sunny, and that's bad. And I can't help myself but to compare the excitement that we have for FC Supra and CF Montreal. At one point, all those soccer lovers are going to go to FC Supra because it gives
Roses
them
FC.
something. Or Roses FC. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the men's game, because I know a lot of people love the men's game but don't really love the women's game. And I'm not here to judge anybody. I love the women's game, and you guys know how much I love it.
Let's judge.
But all I'm saying is that these fans are going to quit, and right now they have another option. They didn't last year or the year before or 5 years ago. Now they do have another option, and that's pretty bad for the product.
Yeah, look, I really liked Lucas Saputo's press conference. I thought he approached it instead of being defensive, because we have seen Gabriel Javet, we've seen Olivier Renard, we've seen even Joey Saputo give press conferences where they were very defensive about their decisions and kind of shut your mouth. We did it, and that's it. But I felt like Elias kind of mentioned, is he was, in a lot of ways, he took ownership for having made some mistakes with the Donadel hiring and the Donadel extension. But now it's time to say, okay, I learned. Now it's time to make the right decision. And I tweeted out, and I really do believe this. If they want to make the right decision, I really, really think they need to take advantage of Philippe Lafroy's ability to sell a project. And not just that, his connections, because he's got connections all over Quebec and all over MLS and all over the world of former, because he does have a big coaching tree. He does. He over the years at the academy, he developed a lot of these staff, and he's an excellent evaluator of talent of staff. I'm not talking about players. That's another story. I'm talking about staff. He's got a fantastic way of evaluating them. So I think they need to use him and keep him on as a staff and as an assistant to continue, hopefully, progressing the youth. But there's a lot more questions to be asked, a lot of more questions to be answered. Next week is going to be so exciting, guys. I'm so excited to do this again. We had a fantastic show, a long one, but full. But I mean, what are we even talking about right now? What a show. We had the Rocco Placentino. We talked about, for the first time, we covered an FC Supra game, and now we talked about the CF Montreal firing of the head coach. What a show. Great job, man. And Hari, Rafael, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks
the door is always open to join us, and we don't really talk about. Hey, Edgar joins us in the comment section. He covers the LA Galaxy. So thank you so much, Edgar, for joining us tonight.
Don't make that mistake.
But that's how he stops watching. But yes, just wanted to say thank you, guys. Thank you so much for all of you who stayed. Thank you, Rocco, for having joined the show and FC Supra. We're excited to see you guys at the stadium. We'll be running into each other, and again, we'll be back next week. As always, the Ball Around is completely free to watch and listen on all of our platforms. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Plus, give a follow to my account and Elias's for your daily dose of hot takes, chaos, and maybe a little nonsense. Don't follow Hadi. He doesn't post anything. A huge shout out to everyone who joined.
Damn.
A huge shout out to everyone who joined the Patreon this week. You guys are legends. And for everyone who tuned in tonight, thanks for sticking with us. Make sure to join us next week for episode 259, Quebec soccer, Canadian soccer. There's just too much to list, but you already know the drill. Don't miss it. See you next week.